Hello everyone, so today we're going to take a look at the SH Figuarts Elden Ring Malenia figure. And Malenia follows the kind of tradition of FromSoft having like an immensely powerful waifu as the final boss. Like in Bloodborne it's Lady Maria, in Dark Souls 3 it's Sister Frieda, and in Elden Ring it's Malenia. That is until the DLC came out. But regardless, I always have a soft spot for Malenia's design. You saw her in every single piece of promo material for Elden Ring pretty much, and it's just such an incredible design. And as soon as they kind of showed off figures, I was really disappointed that Malenia wasn't a figure because they kept releasing all these different armor sets, and then Vike of course was awesome, but there was no sign of Malenia until they finally showed off a prototype, and I immediately pre-ordered her straight from Japan so I would be able to get one. And she does not disappoint in terms of looks. She looks amazing. Malenia is, when I was playing it, I finally got to her, and I had built up this fight in my head. Like, I knew nothing about the boss fight. I didn't look anything up. I just went in blind, and I first tried her, and I remember feeling really kind of disappointed by the boss fight. And then I was talking to my friends. I had like 5 other friends who was playing at the same time, and they got to Malenia and she whipped their butts, and I was like, wait, what? Was she supposed to be difficult? And then I tried to help them out, and then I realized, holy crap, what the hell was going on when I was fighting her, because she was insane. So that's my little gameplay history with Malenia. So let's take a look at the figure. For starters, so in terms of sculpt, she is pretty much absolutely perfect. There is no flaws with her at all. I would like to give them some extra shout outs for the cape. Look at this cape. This is probably the nicest looking cape I've ever seen on an action figure. Like, the printing is phenomenal, and just like all this wear and tear on it, it's just immaculate. There is a wire in it, but it's kind of weak, as you can see here. Like, it kind of bends a little bit, but it's just enough to hold kind of wind billowing the cape a little bit. There's no super dramatic action poses where the cape is all the way up here. Like, it just doesn't work, it just falls down. And I think that's because this wire in here is way too weak. It would be possible probably to lead a stronger wire through here. Like, you have to probably put like a knife in between here and then just pull it up here and then seal it shut again, and then you would be able to do more with the cape. But it doesn't really matter to me that much. The paint job is incredible. Like, look at this golden arm, for instance. You see like all these little cracks here, and it's a very nice like worn gold, and the sculpting is incredible. Of course, this is probably digitally sculpted, so all the details are going to be where they're supposed to be. Furthermore, you can have a look at her legs here, and you can see that there's kind of like a little pattern here. Like, I don't know if these are patterns or if these are like wear and tear, because it kind of reminds me of the doll from Night Rain Revenant, who's my main in that game. I need a figure for her, by the way. So I don't know if this is supposed to be like an artificial leg. Regardless, absolutely beautiful attention to detail. Furthermore, we can take a closer look at her face. You can see like the scarlet rot on her face here, and underneath here, and there's a beautiful little wash in the helmet. Again, this is probably like the best gold I've ever seen on a figure. I'm not sure if this piece here is supposed to match the cape. It doesn't really, but... Okay, so I had a look. This is indeed supposed to be the same cape as this. You can see the clasp here. I wasn't sure if this golden clasp was like this piece not being pushed down all the way or not, but this golden clasp is supposed to be there, and this is supposed to be the same piece. So that's a little bit unfortunate that it doesn't quite match up, but I think with some purples and some blues and some reds, you can make a pretty good transition to this piece here, because there's quite a lot of texture sculpted in, as you can see here. Furthermore, there's even more sculpted detail in here with all the scarlet rot on her skin, and even some on her neck. So let's move on to articulation, where I think this figure is really interesting in that it has this joint here, so you can move her hair in all kinds of dramatic ways. And also, I'd like to give some notice to the hair, that there's a very subtle kind of dark wash on the hair. You can't really see it that well, but it really adds some extra dimension to it. And there's the neck. There's a double barbell down here, and then up here it's also a double ball, which is why she's able to tilt her head like this. I am a little bit worried about the helmet pieces going down here because they tend to hit this fur collar. Like, you kind of have to be a little bit careful how much you strain those things against the fur collar because these pieces look really thin. Actually, no, they're kind of rubber. So, okay, so they won't snap off. And so is... These are also kind of rubbery, actually. Not as much, but I don't think they're gonna break off. Like, I was originally really worried about them just snapping off because it's a Japanese import figure. Furthermore, this thing here is articulated so that you can free up some space with the shoulder articulation. There's a nice little swivel here. I kind of wish the swivel was down here instead because this cut here is perfect for a hidden swivel. But instead, we can look into the machinery and see that it's just like a pretty funky looking joint in there. I also guess it doesn't really matter because this entire arm is mechanical. Let's see how they did on this side here. They did a really clever thing hiding the elbow joint here. You see this flap here, it completely hides the typical Figuarts joint they're using. And the arm goes up this much, and then it's a more traditional type of a Figuarts joint up here. A nice butterfly as well. But the cape is pretty much always covering this from pretty much any angle. So it doesn't really matter that if you forcefully pull this up, it's kind of unsightly. What else is there? She's got a double ball peg up here, I think. No, it's not a double ball peg, it's a single ball peg. So that is to free up some articulation, but we're gonna get back to that in a second. Her legs are kind of weird looking as well. They kind of remind me of McFarlane joints, like a little bit, with how there's like a separate piece inside of the leg that goes into a peg. She's got double jointed knees here. They go further back, but this piece here, the skirt piece, is kind of blocking it. And then she's got a swivel here, and then a toe joint, and she has an ankle rocker as well. I forgot the hands. They are on your typical import joints like so. This one is pretty stiff, and that's so you can swap the hands. And it's the same for this hand over here. But we're gonna move on to this piece back here, because as you can see here, it's kind of limited, and Bandai opted to make it possible to swap these parts, and here comes all the accessories, so that she could be a little bit more articulated. So you have these bits here, and we can also have a closer look. Have a butt here, nice swivel here, more details that you're never going to see. But you can put this on like so, and then put her. So putting on this skirt piece was a little bit more trouble than I originally anticipated, but this frees up her leg articulation drastically, because now these pieces are a lot more flexible because they have actual cuts in them. And even with the cuts, like, they're not unsightly at all. And I think in a neutral position, they don't look bad either. So I like the extra effort that they went with a more kind of neutral skirt piece, and that they added an extra one in case you want her to be more posable. But honestly, I think that if it was just came with this one posable piece that had a little bit more flex to it, it would have been perfectly adequate, because it doesn't look bad in the slightest. Maybe her hips got a little bit wider, I think. No, I don't really see too much of an issue with it. So we can move on to her accessories, and she doesn't really have a lot, so this will probably be pretty quick. So she's got switchable hands, and this one is a nice splayed out come hither type I'll give you an apple hand, and this one is a regular kind of like relaxed hand, and they just come off like so with a quick pull, and you don't need to heat them up or anything. And there we go, she offers to take your hand, and the other hand she has that is changeable on this side is this closed fist. It's not really a fist as much as it's kind of... She looks like she's about to flip a coin. I'm not really sure about this one. I don't really care for it. So I think we'll go with a relaxed hand. And then on her golden prosthetic hand, she has kind of another kind of relaxed hand, as well as a hand that permanently holds a sword. So this is my biggest gripe with this entire figure. I don't like when they have accessory hands that holds like a gun or a sword. I think they should always be two pieces, because like now you can't like pose her with a sword next to her or anything, and it's just a little bit frustrating. So we can remove this and just snap it on like so. And this joint here is a little bit extra stiff, so it wasn't really needed because this sword weighs like nothing, but there's no way this will ever droop because this joint is so tight. Okay, so a quick little update. I am notoriously bad at, you know, taking care of my figures, so I noticed that the sword is a separate piece, and I assumed that was like for molding reasons, but as I was pulling, the sword does come out. So that makes this 9.5 figure an absolute 10 out of 10. The sword isn't supposed to come out, I think, because, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this bit here wouldn't be sculpted like this, if so. There we go. Wait, actually, why is there a hole there in the first place? Because the sword doesn't even do anything with that hole. But regardless, the sword is very much removable. It looks kind of bad, but what can you do? She also comes with a stand, but it's a typical Figuarts stand, and I've never cared about those at all, so I'm not even going to go through it. So now we're going to do some size comparisons. Here she is next to a McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman figure, and here she is next to the Figma Bloodborne Lady Maria figure. And if you're a FromSoft collector, this is probably the one that you're kind of most curious about, because, face it, I don't really know what Superman and Malenia has to do with each other at all. And here she is next to a kind of standard Marvel Legends figure. I believe this is the Sunfire body. And here is my custom Kratos figure, which is not really relevant to you guys because you don't obviously own this figure. But I include them anyway because I think aesthetically they go kind of well together. So in short, I finally have her, and I am pretty much as satisfied with her as I was ever going to be. She is absolutely immaculate. Her paint job is really nice little shading here. This piece up here could have a little bit of more of an airbrush maybe, but the gold here on the arm and the paint job on the face, the paint job on the helmet, the subtle wash in the hair, and like I said, this cape it's just incredible. So if you're a fan of Elden Ring and or a fan of Malenia, I would just pick this up immediately while she's still available, because she is perfect. She is the perfect representation for Elden Ring if you want something on the shelf. And Elden Ring is one of the best games ever made, so highly recommend. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit.
Heed my words. I am Malenia, Blade of Mikola, and I have never known defeat. You will witness true horror. Now, rot.